Hello, how's it going? In today's video, I'll be covering the Shadow Council, Blade of the Shadow Council, and the first Warchief from Chronicle Volume 2. So let's go! The first members of Gul'dan's Shadow Council were the Shadowmoon Warlocks, including Terran Gore. There were some individuals from other clans as well. They were all sworn to secrecy. Anyone who revealed this Shadow Council's existence would be sleeping with the fishes, see? But it wasn't just orcs in the secret order. Two of the most effective members were Garona and Cho'Gall. Garona was from the Bladewind clan. Her father was an orc and her mother was a Draenei prisoner, which means she was one of them dirty half-breeds that no one likes. There's been a bit of a retcon here. Originally, Garona's mother was Loran, making her Murad's niece. However, in terms of Chronicle and the timeline and stuff, this doesn't appear to be the case anymore. Unless Garona is joining the Shadow Council at like 2 years old. Anywho, she somehow managed to survive past childhood, and the years of abuse had turned her into a ferocious fighter. Not only was she strong, but she also had a keen intellect. She was able to speak the Draenei language, and her clan had often used her as an interpreter. When the Draenei had destroyed the main Bladewind village, she cheesed it into the wilds of Terakar, and eventually ran into Gul'dan. He saw great potential in her, so he let her live. In order to gain her trust, he used sympathy. He knew what it was like to live as an outcast, and she was like, yeah, I guess you do. What with you being all disabled and stuff. But once her guard was down, the Warlocks used their dark power to hypnotise Garona and make her an assassin. So, sucks to be her. Cho'Gall was an ogre, but not just any ogre. He was one of them two-headed ogres, which means he'd had a pretty good life. He'd lived in Heimul and been tutored by some of the most talented ogre sorcerers. He'd had a natural affinity to the arcane arts and had gained a pretty big following. Double-but, the ogre aristocracy thought he was a knob. Cho'Gall's arrogance and lust for power put him at odds with the ruling elite. They feared his growing popularity would allow him to seize control of the city, so they tried to assassinate him. He narrowly escaped the attempt and cheesed it. He was pretty hungry for revenge, but he knew he wouldn't be able to do it alone, not even with two heads. As he searched for knowledge and weapons, he ran into Gul'dan, and Gul'dan was like, I like the cut of your jib, so you're my apprentice now. He taught the ogre fel magic and revealed the existence of the Burning Legion. It's important to note that Cho'Gall was really only interested in power, not ideologies. As soon as this little disabled orc and the Shadow Council stopped being useful, Cho'Gall will be off. There was another group that Gul'dan formed. They were called the Necrolytes. Using necromancy, they would spread plagues to the Draenei and raise the dead to fight at the Horde's side. But enough about them. There were a couple of things in particular Gul'dan wanted to take care of. Firstly, he may have received Blackhand's favour, but that didn't mean the other clans would just accept him as their new Warchief. So he sent Shadow Council agents to Orcish territories to spread word of Blackhand's mighty deeds. His Shaman have discovered new power even greater than the elements. He ate 51 eggs in an hour. Chuck Norris punched him and hurt his hand or something. These mysterious stories caused the Orcs to look upon Blackhand with awe, especially the egg story. The Shadow Council agents also spied on the clans, listening out for any dissent. Gul'dan also still remembered about that time Chieftain ZAGREL'S of the White Claws had been a jerk. ZAGREL'S had been trying to convince the Orcs to abandon their war with the Draenei and focus on shamanic rituals to rekindle their relationship with the elements. Gul'dan knew if he let ZAGREL continue, the bugger would probably win support of more Orcs who questioned the Horde. So he decided to do something about it, and he had the perfect weapon. He ordered Garona to strike ZAGREL down, and since she's all ensorcelled, or whatever that word is, she obeyed his command. She sneakily slipped into the White Claws' camp and stabbed ZAGREL through the heart. His clan had no idea how it happened, because she'd been so sneaky. Inner turmoil crippled the White Claws as ZAGREL'S brothers and sons battled for the title of chieftain. The clan would endure, but they'd never be as strong as they'd once been. Around 5 years before the Dark Portal, Gul'dan called a meeting of the chieftains and their Shaman at oshu'gun. The time had come to nominate Blackhand as the leader of the Horde. But Gul'dan had one last ploy to secure support. He addressed the Shaman and told them that they needed to get woke and realised the elements had abandoned them. But there was still hope. Benevolent beings had taught the Blackrocks how to wield something called fel magic, and it was glorious. However, he didn't mention the name Kil'jaeden, or demons. It's a hard sell to try and convince someone a guy with Kill in his name is a decent bloke. The Blackrock Warlocks then demonstrated their power on captive Draenei, draining their life essence and burning them from the inside out. The Shaman watched this and were like, great. Even drek'thar of the Frostwolves was pretty excited. He pleaded with Durotan to allow him to learn this magic, and Durotan, although reluctant, gave his blessing. He couldn't allow his clan to be weakened by having a shaman that was crap. Everything was going to plan. The Orcs were lining up to learn fel magic from the Blackrocks. Gul'dan then addressed the Orcish assembly again. The Draenei are mobilising their defences. We need a single leader to oversee military operations, a Warchief to command all chieftains, and I reckon it should be Blackhand, because he's led his own clan to countless victories against the Draenei, and also he ate a load of eggs or something. The vote was unanimous, Once again, Durotan reluctantly cast his lot with Blackhand for fear of his clan facing consequences if he spoke out. And with that, Warchief Blackhand turned to his people, struck a pose, and yelled, "For the Horde." Nerd. And we're leaving it there! Gul'dan's having a whale of a time at the moment, everything's coming up Millhouse for him. In the next Volume 2 video, Blackhand picks some lieutenants, the Orc's skin colour changes, Cho'Gall makes some new friends, and the Draenei finally figure out what the balls is going on. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. Thanks very much for watching, and see ya!